Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Today, I am going to be talking about the importance of self-care when you're suffering from being an erased parent after divorce or separation. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of lessons I learned from talking to many children and adult children who've reunited with an erased parent. And I'm going to let you know why self-care is so important, and it's probably not for the reasons that you think. First of all, I'm Gingergentile, the director of the Erasing Family documentary. And I have been working on this documentary for the past 2 years, and we have been interviewing all over the United States, Canada, Argentina. We're planning a shoot in Sweden soon. We're hoping to add more countries, trying to maybe go to Australia as well. So a lot of times when people are going through a stressful situation, like a loved one is in the hospital, for example, often someone, a friend, or the nurse will come in and say, "We know that you're trying to help and you're spending all this time in the hospital room, but you got to go home, take a shower, get a good night's sleep, eat a hot meal, and then come back refreshed because you're just getting sick as well." And often the person who is in the hospital, who is caring for the loved one in the hospital, will say, "Well, I don't want to do that because my loved one could get worse or could get better, could wake up, could die at any moment. And if I'm not there, I'm going to feel horrible." But when you're caring for someone in a hospital, your actual well-being has very little impact on them. But that is not the case when you are an erased parent hoping to reunite with your erased child or children. And the reason is I've talked to many children who have decided on their own to reach out to a parent who in many cases they have never known, or they only saw when they were babies, so they have no memory of them. And they decide to see what's up and decide whether to have a relationship with that parent or no. Sometimes these reunions are the result of years of searching and longing, but often these are chance encounters. So I've talked to kids who are at a birthday party and all of a sudden their dad walks in who they haven't seen in years and haven't spoken to. Or I've even heard of a case of a man who was, well, I talked to him, who was about 50 years old, hadn't seen his mother for about 40 years. And his mother happened to run into a friend of his at a function, and that's how he decided to reconnect after all that time. And I also have talked with a woman who's about 60 who was erased from her mother and reached out to her mother when she was 16. What's interesting is that the girl who reached out to her mother when she was 16 right now knows where her mother is and talks to her occasionally, but never fully reunited and never developed a good relationship with her. And the reason is that when she found her mom at the age of 16, and that was a big act of rebellion against her dad, who didn't want her to have anything to do with her mom. It was a big leap of faith. What does she find? She finds a mother who is broken, can't stop crying, and went from one abusive man, the father, to another abusive guy. And she's completely broken. This girl was thinking, I'm 16, if I leave my dad, I'm going to lose all of my financial support, the support of an extended family, the life I know. And I can't leave my dad as much as he mistreats me, because my only other option, I'm a 16-year-old kid, and this applies even if you're 18 or in your early 20s, you're still young. I can't leave behind everything I know, all of my support, to be with this person who's shattered, who's broken. And so she's in contact with her mother, but they're not reuniting. They don't have a good relationship. Because every time she tries to talk about what happens, the mother breaks down crying. Can't talk, can't move on. And the mother is now in her 80s, and the child's in her 50s. In the other cases that I've talked to, young people who have reunited with an erased parent, what they always say is, I found a parent who was loving and kind, generous, full of love and joy, who forgave me, because in many cases the kids feel bad for saying rude things or not picking up phone calls or answering letters or emails. And I found all this forgiveness and love and are willing to look past. And those are the kids who because of this circumstance that threw them together with this erased parent, which could be chance or because they looked for them, decide to have a relationship, and often a beautiful relationship, with this parent. And one girl said, Ginger, it's so wonderful. I finally met somebody who cares about me. I've never felt cared for and loved for before until I reunited with my dad. Or I talked with another young man who reunited with his mother, and he was able to maintain a relationship with his dad and his stepmother and a new one with his mother. Very difficult, but he was able to do it in part because the mother said, I forgive everybody in my situation. I just want to move forward. I'm so happy you're back. And let me show you this wonderful life that I have. Wonderful life doesn't have to mean full of money or success, but it means that you're happy, that you've been able to form other relationships, that you're not stuck in the pain cycle, that you're not stuck in what I call martyr syndrome. And I get a lot of parents who say, I can't see my kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a hunger strike, and I will die from starvation if they don't let me see my kids. I'm going to do this crazy thing. I'm going to lose my job to go across the country to this rally. And all of this fighting, it's important to fight, but it's important to fight to get results. If you're just fighting and going through motions to show how much you're suffering, I hate to break it to you, your kid doesn't care. Because you as a parent are there to care for your child. You as a parent are there to be the adult. You're their protector. And of all the kids I've talked to, none have said, well, I finally met my mom or my dad. I saw that they were this martyr suffering. I've never seen anyone suffer and so sick, so I had to get back with them and take care of them. No. They will often say afterwards, when I ask questions, I learned how much they suffered, and I think the system is very unfair, and it's disgusting what happened to my parent, and I can't believe how much they suffered. But the first moment, that moment to reunite, to reconnect, came because they saw a parent who could offer them love and understanding, compassion, and could offer them a beautiful life to join. Even if it was very different than the life that they had planned. By showing, look, I brought another spouse into my family and kids. Now you have siblings. That for many people is very beautiful, and for many kids is very beautiful. And that's what they're attracted to. They're attracted to the light. They are attracted to love and hope, and also knowing that you can be there to support them, because so many kids who I've talked to, and this is a pattern, because all the stories are different, but then all the stories are the same. Many of the kids I've talked to, when they decide to reunite or even have contact with the other parent, which could be a Skype call, become homeless, because the parent, who's sometimes called the favored parent or the preferred parent or the alienating parent, rejects them. Get out of my house. You can't take your car, you can't take your clothes, you can't take your money, you have nothing. Oh, and I'm not paying for college either. So if the only parent that they have now in their life to rely on is broken and can't help them and doesn't know what to do and is there crying and just talking about the past and about how your mom, your dad did this to me and that to me and they're a narcissist and they're an abuser, blah, blah, blah. The kid's not going to be attracted to that. They're not going to come back. And it's not your job to explain what happened. If they want to know, they will ask. And for many children, at first they say, I just want to look forward. I don't want to talk about the past. And maybe at some point in the future, they will ask about what happened. But that's not why the kids come back. It's not because you fought. It's because they realize they're better having you in your life. How better that they have this love and abundance. And then what a wonderful gift. If you are so full of love and abundance, you can help them maintain, as hard as it is, a relationship with that other side of the family. Just as how you don't like being talked about behind your back, being called names, you can mirror this behavior by not calling the other parent names and just saying they did the best they can. Unfortunately, they're sick or not well, but hopefully they will get better and hopefully things will get better. Now, coming up to the holidays, this is a very hard time for a lot of people. So I want to talk a little about self-care, some easy things you can do. Of course, there are tons of things out there, self-care help websites and apps. So I'm just going to go through a few tips. You should find some time each day to do something that brings you joy, that does not involve looking at a screen, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, or engaging in other risky behavior. So that could mean reading a novel that engrosses you in another world. It could mean meditating, listening to music, cooking, walking, being in nature, doing an arts and crafts project, playing with a pet, volunteering, focusing on other family relationships, but something that brings you joy. And I know it's incredibly hard, and I hope that all of you can reunite very soon, but for some of you it's a long road ahead, and you probably already know that. So you need to think about this as taking 5 minutes each day to make yourself feel better is going to bring you back closer to your child, okay? You shouldn't feel bad about it. That's what your kid needs. If you have a smartphone, which I'm sure most of you do, there's also a ton of meditation apps on there. I'm not going to name them because no one's paying me to advertise for them, but you can go in the App Store or the iTunes Store and you can see all these meditation apps, mindfulness apps, apps to help you get to sleep. You can journal and, of course, reconnect with other people, but reconnect at least for 5 minutes each day with people where you're not talking about this problem, where you're bringing joy. For some people, this could mean volunteering and helping others, and it also can put your own pain in perspective. It could mean talking to family, finding friends, doing activity, anything that brings you joy, because that's what your kid is going to see. And for a lot of stories I've heard, that decision to reunite is based on pure chance. It happens in an instant. And you need to be happy and calm and prepared and full of love and not anger and sadness, because you might get literally a few minutes for the kid to make that decision of, wow, I want this parent in my life, or everything I heard, like, I don't see why. This is just going to bring me more pain and suffering. And the kids have already suffered so much. Remember, the one who's truly suffering is always your kid. Now, a lot of issues that I want to say, a lot of you are probably going to say, well, this is great, Ginger, but I have no idea where my kid is. I haven't talked to them in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. If I pick up the phone, they will hang up. I have a restraining order. There's no way I can contact them. So this sounds all great, but I'm really suffering, and you need to drag my kid in there. So here's the truth. I can't forcibly reunite any kid, and I never have. But I'll make a promise with you if you make a promise with me. So the promise I want you to make is to take care of yourself. If you need to get therapy, join a support group, do it. There is free counseling online now. There's free hotlines if you need help. You can talk to other parents, and don't just make it a who's suffering the worst kind of thing, but talking about ways to make it better. At my work, my co-working space, we actually started a meditation group, and we meditate once a week, 20 minutes together, and then we talk about issues in our lives. It's not therapy, but people can give me, tips about how to deal with a difficult family member. We keep it light, and we talk about how much better we're feeling. So that's the part that you need to do, and I can't do it for you, and nobody can do it for you. It's taking care of yourself and having the best life possible under horrible circumstances. But another thing has to happen. Your kid has to, at some point, regardless of chance, because that's out of our control, come back to you. Your kid needs to look for you, needs to try to reconnect, or when you send an email or a message, pick up the phone. So that's where all of the groups who are fighting for legislative reform, court watching, doing education, and also the documentary that's still being made, Erasing Family, come in. What we can do as activists, as advocates, as educators, as communicators, as filmmakers, is sow the seeds so that society knows that no parent should be erased. That this harms kids, it harms families, and it's damaging to society because it teaches the future generation it's okay to erase people when they're difficult, it's okay to turn your back on people just because, and it ends up with an alienated society, literally. So we can do that part, And we can also show stories of how difficult it is, how trying it is, but how wonderful and healing it is to reunite, to inspire other kids. And that's what we're doing with the Erasing Family documentary. So I'm about to finish up with the live feed, but if anyone has a question, a specific question about the documentary project or advice, now's the time to write it into the comments section. And while you do that, if anyone does have a question for me about the kids who I've been talking to, about what they've said, about how they found their parents, now is the time to do that. I just got someone from Whole Hag saying I meditate every day and has helped very much. I've also been getting Christy Beck saying I'm also moving forward with my show. This is why my show going forward is focusing in this direction. Perfect. What else am I getting? Thanks. I miss my daughter. Getting some thank yous. I rebuilt myself before I got my kids again and showed the judge that I'm a positive parent. Lots of work to have emotion in check and now to cope in a positive way. So this is another reason. If you're happy and calm, other people see you happy and calm. And trust me, the way to convince people that you're not the problem, and always, that it takes two to tango, so I'm not trying to place blame, is by presenting yourself as a calm person and as a happy person, and not by saying, look at the other person, how bad they are, because let me tell you, what people hear is, oh, you both deserve each other. And that's not the message you want. You want to show people, look, I'm a victim in this situation. I'm doing the best I can. I'm not perfect, but I'm calm. I'm positive. I can keep my emotions under control. Alexander Backman asked, any info for kids that have been split? Alexandra Beckman, sorry. Do you mean siblings that have been split up? Alexandra Beckman, are you talking about when siblings can't see each other? I'll take you a moment and then I'll try to answer that. But in the meantime, make a promise 5 minutes each day to start, to do something that you enjoy that does not involve a screen or drinking or anything that's not a healthy activity. So I got, okay, so Dwayne Houston, when do you expect the completion of your documentary? 2018, I'm hoping by the middle of the year. We are finishing up filming now, so we are hoping to be in editing soon. And then when it's done, we're gonna look for the best time to release. So it might not be right away, but if we can get it into a major film festival and get press, that's very beneficial for the cause because it's a pressable moment, so everybody can have an excuse to talk about it. Whole Hag just said, love is the only answer. Sounds corny, but as the parent who has been alienated, best thing that has worked for me is just not to get angry, just stay in a loving place. It's not the kid's fault. Totally true, Whole Hag. It is not. Ali Goribar, are the children good emotional health when reunited? The short answer is it depends. Most of the time not. Some are more highly functional than others, but they all have a deep trauma. And many kids have not had, because everyone reacts to this differently and everyone reacts to different traumas differently. There are people who have, I always think of, there are people who have survived the Holocaust and come out great singing and dancing and are able to get on with their lives. And there are people who live much smaller traumas and can't leave their house. So it depends on the kid. But for the child, having someone to mirror them, having someone who's healthy that they can mirror and say, look, I was able to get back this trauma and at least find some joy in my life, even if I'm not healed, is very powerful. Ali Goribar, what do you do to take care of emotional health of children when the other parent is very emotionally abusive? Be strong and don't blame them, and always remind yourself the kid didn't choose their parents, you chose them. Let that one sink in. Kids did not ask to be born. So just always keep it positive. Do the work, go to therapy. There's tons of books and resources out there now about what to say. So if the kid says, my other parent said, you're a loser and you're never going to go anywhere, don't say, well, that's because your other parent's a loser, is mean, and is a narcissist, and is a horrible person. Say, that must be very hard to hear. How does that make you feel? Let them talk and then see if you can come up with a strategy. Is there a way that they can remove themselves from the situation a little, put some space on, try to find a distance, try not to egg the parent on. It's very hard, but the more that you can be there, at least they know that they have one solid, stable parent. Alexander Beckman, different dads. So 4 kids have been alienated from the 2 kids. Okay. Got it. So here's the good news and the bad news about sibling alienation and erased siblings. It's very common. A lot of the kids in my film, well, pretty much all of them, they can't see a sibling because of this. Often when they reunite with the parent, their other siblings reject them along with the other parent. And it's tough. The good news is that while society can say if you're a parent and you can't see your kids, you must have done something bad, people say, well, why can't a kid see them? This is wrong. So the most that I can say to focus on is for them to have a positive relationship with their siblings. If that means they can't talk about mom and dad and what's going on and just focus on kid games, encourage that. Let them have their own relationship and don't pass messages back and forth. You know, you will come up, and when you come up and the kid says, yeah, everything's great with mom, and we just had, had a great weekend. We ate pizza and went to the bowling alley or whatever kids do these days. I just really dated myself with the bowling alley reference. They'll hear that naturally if things are going good. But you don't say, oh, even simple things. Like in one case I saw the mom said to the girl who's talking with the brother won't talk to the mom, tell your brother for me happy birthday. Whoa. The brother, how dare you pass messages from mom? And because the kids have been both in therapy, they began, you're being alienated, no, you're being alienated, no, you're being alienated, no, you're being alienated. But there was another brother in this family who just kind of, teenage boy, and would just talk to the alienated brother about, video games, sports, girls, I don't know, just normal stuff. And that in itself is very positive, and you're not a therapist, you're a sibling. And trust me, that's a hard lesson to learn. Holly Gobis says, so Alexander Beckman, they never see them. So I know a lot of you, they have no contact. So if there's a way that contact can happen with the parents not involved, try to encourage that. If there's a neutral place that they can meet up, this is very hard. So sometimes, unfortunately, these things have to happen when people are adults. But by keeping a positive, showing your kids photos, having them, write letters and maybe putting them into a bottle and sending it out there. And I just want to clarify, all of what I'm talking about are emotional strategies. I'm not talking about legal strategies or legislative reform. That's for a different video cast. But it can be positive. Another thing too is what you can do is you can set up a blog, and you can, like I'm creating a video, you can create video tributes for your kids. But if that's too much work, you can go to erasingfamily.org, and there's a button that says share your story, and you and each of your children can create a video tribute and keep it positive. It's not about saying how you were hurt. It's not about telling your story. It's about, this is why I miss you. This is what I look forward to doing with you. These are the great things we'll do when I see you one day. I love you, a message of love. And you can send that there. It's a free service, and we encourage people to send as many videos as they want, and each family member can put them as they want. But it makes you feel better, okay? But more importantly, maybe the kid will stumble upon that. They Google their name. It's very hard. The producer of this film, he was separated from his daughter for 13 years. So I know how difficult this can be. Hallie Gobis said, my dad's side hates my mom's side. He is okay with me starting to reconnect, but would it be bad if I want to spend Christmas with mom's side? It's been 11 years since I saw them all. Wow, Hallie. Yes. You don't need permission ever to see a parent. But I'm going to give you a caveat. You also need to protect yourself. So if you think that Christmas is going to give you a lot of tension with your dad and your dad's sides of the family, I'm not sure how close you are. Maybe you can spend Christmas Eve with your mom. Maybe you can spend New Year's with your mom or another day. And trust me, they will be so happy to see you. It's been 11 years. They don't care about the day. So just protect yourself. And if you think this is going to cause a lot of conflict with your dad, then maybe pick a more neutral day, I would say. And trust me, it'll be a beautiful day. It'll be a huge celebration. It'll be better than 10 Christmases if it's been 11 years since you've seen your mom. Emmanuel GM, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. In your documentary, do you show families that reunited? Yes, the documentary is basically about families that reunited, though in a lot of cases, it is a reunification of a child and a parent, and then the siblings get cut out. So these are stories with happy endings, but they're still works in progress, and we're showing the progress that they're trying to make. And we're hoping that it will show people realistically how difficult it is, keeping in mind that unfortunately not all children reunite, but if we can show children, look, it's worth the effort. There might be this loving, wonderful family waiting for you that you don't know about. We hope that that can encourage others to reunite. And again, I'm just going to scroll up for the name, to Haley Gobis. Just remember through it all that it's all about adding love and not subtracting love. Oh, you said you have already visited them. I think it's good to, how old are you, Haley, if I can ask? Are you over 18? Are you an adult, or are you still a kid? Are you living with your dad? That's important information too. So I'll give you a second, Haley Gobis, if you can tell me how old you are and if you're living with your dad or not. Every case is different, and you know what are those things that can set off tension and things that can set off fighting. So it's always, Haley, about trying. This is very hard. Okay, so you're 18. Okay, so I would say if you think it's appropriate and you don't think you're going to get too much pushback from your dad, go for it. But if you think this can bring anger, maybe hold off a little bit, and you can try to sense that, and maybe spending, I think I hope you can, and I think you should, but never put yourself in harm, and your mom will understand if you can't. And always think to yourself, and you can repeat this to anybody too, look, I don't want to replace you, Dad. I want to know where I come from so I can make up my own mind and maybe add love to my life. It's not about choosing, and I refuse to choose anymore. So by focusing on that, they might not be able to hear it, but never saying like, oh, I hate you now, I like mom's side better, and I'm going to change my last name and do all this. Just be like, look, I want to make up my own mind, and I think that's why it's so important for kids to reunite, so they can learn what the other side of the family is. And also, I know this from personal experience. If you don't know the other side of your family, all of those issues and problems they have, you don't know about, and you can't work on, you can't begin to solve until you meet them and see them. Otherwise, we just repeat the same things generation after generation. And Laura said, I was alienated from my paternal family my entire life. I'm so sorry to hear that, Laura. That is really, really hard. Are you, when you said just protect yourself and bring a friend, does that mean that your meeting was not great the first time, or just general advice? So Alexandra Beckman says, thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Ginger. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm almost on 6 years. I'm so sorry to hear that. No contact with 2 of my 7. It's all about reuniting my kids and making sure they never deal with this when my babies have their babies. That's a great attitude. And here's another thing. This is all very hard, and this does not work with every situation, but often the alienating parent will say no contact from the other parent, but maybe an aunt, a cousin, niece, nephew, aunt can maybe slip through. And it's and encourage those relationships even if it doesn't bring you any closer in the short term, because it will in the long term. So even if they go and they don't talk about you, that's okay. So Laura said, I try to reunite with my paternal family and it was so much better when I brought someone. I think that's true. If you are out there and you're an erased kid and you're unsure, and I actually know a reunification story, this is pretty crazy. The girl was 21 years old and her psychiatrist says, you need to go find your dad. You need to talk to him. It's been so many years, it's been more than a decade. You need to talk with your dad. Good psychiatrist, right? And so she comes with her mind, well, what can I do to try and protect myself? Because I've been told my dad is this horrible, evil person. I know what, I'm going to sue my dad, because if I sue my dad, there's going to be lawyers, a court reporter, and a mediator in the room. Dad and daughter walk in, hug each other. They resolve the lawsuit, which was a silly issue, in about like a minute. And he asked her, why did you sue me? And she said, I didn't think you would even want to see me. And if you did, you would be so bad and evil. I want all these people here to protect me. And Laura says, it was much more fun when I brought a trusted friend. I think that's great advice, especially because if you haven't had any contact with this family, it can be kind of nerve-wracking and you don't know what you're going to see. So bring somebody, meet them in an open place, talk with them on Skype or Facebook chat, or on iMessenger or anything a lot before you reach out to them. And it's also fine to send letters and write letters first. Take your time. I am going 2 years of not seeing my daughter and the sadness is growing deeper, especially during the holidays. What helps? This is from Giselle Bloom. First, I'm really sorry. I would say when we finish, try to write down, just jot down the first thing that comes to your mind, things that you enjoy doing that are healthy behaviors. So maybe it's going for a walk, talking with a friend, playing with a pet. I'm trying to think of also behaviors that are inexpensive or free. So nature is free. Biking around, if you have a bike, is free. So sorry, we cut out for a second. And just try to think of some things that can bring you joy, and give yourself permission not to dwell on this. Give yourself permission not to think about this every day. For some parents, unfortunately, it means taking down pictures just not to look at every day. And if that's what you need, and I definitely would say if the sadness is getting deeper and deeper, find somebody to talk to. If you can find a good therapist, do so. If you can't afford one, look into support groups or helplines, or trying to talk to a trusted friend. And also meditation really helps. It's very hard. I mean, it's like playing the piano. The first time you try, you're not going to be good at it. The second time, 2 months and 3 months in, you're not going to be good at it. But over time, you'll see little progress, and at least you'll be able to be more detached from your emotions. So Haley Gobus said, 2 good friends were like, my aunt and uncle were with me. It was so much easier. So that is good advice. And getting a lot of bring a friend with you. You reconnect. I'm trying to see if there's any other things I'm missing. Tate Rhodes, what have you witnessed coping mechanisms other have used to survive being erased 3.5 years and counting? The people who've gone through the best I've seen are the ones who take this sadness, this horrible sense of, it's what Dr. Craig Childress calls pathological mourning, because you're mourning for somebody who's still alive and who might come back, so you can't really complete the mourning process. And you don't want to, because the person's alive and want them to come back. The people who can take that sadness and transform it into energy to help others. So for the producer of this film, Erasing Family, and he also produced Erasing Dad, he hadn't seen his daughter when we started this for 6 years, year 13 now. And making the film Erasing Dad and seeing how much it helped people. And even though it was such a difficult film, because we were interviewing people who were going through horror story after horror story, it was very helpful because of something positive that he could do. So I think finding something positive you can do, and if it's not in this movement or to bring kids and families back, because that's just too much, volunteering at a animal shelter, at a homeless shelter, or in nature picking up trash or something in a park, community garden. For some people, it is working with young people in a school. For some people, that's too hard. But finding something to give back, those are the people who I feel like so giving something back helps you put things in perspective, and then also you feel like at least something good came out of this. So I hate to bring up this parallel, but a lot of people who've lost a loved one and then become activists say, well, at least my loved one didn't die in vain. So if you can help other people get through this or help people in another cause, that can give you a sense of, well, this is something that life is trying to teach me, as opposed to, why is life punishing me? Life punishes people. It's very unfair. I studied history, and trust me, people have been being oppressed, beaten, abused, killed, massacred, genocided, blah, 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 since the beginning of time, unfortunately. Candace, who's just said, hi, Candace. It's amazing how healing helping others is. Very true. Joe Barrow says, but being vocal about this has also helped. So to be clear, being an activist is different than what you talk about with your own child. And I can't stress that enough. You can have one discourse in public, and when you're talking to legislators, judges, lawyers, and other parents, but then with your own kid, it might not make the most sense to actually talk about this issue. Instead, focus on something positive and loving memories when you do meet them, if you can one day. Someone said, I also read to kids in an after-school program. I can finally know and feel that I deserve happiness in my life also. Yes, you deserve happiness, and by being happy, you're not saying that your kid doesn't matter. That's the big lesson I want to get off this video. You can find happiness. It doesn't mean you love your kid less, or you're not always there protecting, or because you're not crying every moment. And sometimes it's faking until you're making it. And everybody's different, so I can't tell you what the path is, but I keep on hearing helping others, meditation, time in nature. These are things that are free, that you can do almost anywhere. They're available to anybody, and they are scientifically proven to help. A walk in nature or park, playing with an animal, helping others, meditating, just calming the mind can be very, very helpful. And meditation can be found in every religious and atheist tradition. There's a lot of different types. You can put on guided meditations. You can put ones about healing yourself. If you feel very hurt, which I'm sure most of you do, there are guided meditations you can get on your smartphone with an app or in a podcast, or go to YouTube, put healing meditation and just listen to it in a calm space. You don't have to do anything, and just let the thoughts go in and listen to it every day, and it'll help a little bit. I get sad when I'm idle. Yes, there's an old saying, idle hands are the devil's playground or something. I don't know. But the more still you are, not when you're meditating, not when you're thinking about something or being mindful, but when you're just not doing anything, or just on Facebook for too long, or just watching bad television, it can make you feel worse. So that's why it's important to be healthy, because if you go and you eat a pot of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, eat some pizza, have 2 bottles of wine, wash it down with some whiskey, you might feel good in the moment, but that's not healthy. So it's good to find healthy ways to express yourself. And there are tons of people out there who need help, and helping them will make yourself feel better. It has been 5 years now since I've seen my daughter, and feels like she has died over and over again. Yes, John Lindbergh, you are going through what's called pathological mourning, which is when you are mourning somebody who's still alive, so it can't end. So as hard as it is, finding a few moments each day to think about something else, to put your mind somewhere else. And what's good about meditating or being mindful, quieting the mind, and this is very hard, and it's not going to work the first time, is that you're able to not react so much to triggers and emotions. And you can just see, okay, I can't see my child. This is very sad. This is very horrible. Let's see. Manual GM. When I was alienated, I had a lot of help from the VA mental clinic and used all time alone, starting my degree. When I finished in 2016, I was already reunited with my daughters and had 2 more daughters, 4 and 7, and my wife. So that's a great story. Emmanuel did everything right. He looked for resources to get help, and then he poured himself into another project, which was getting a degree. Talk about keeping yourself busy and having more kids. And here's the thing. Even if your kids don't reunite with you, unfortunately, at least you've had happiness in your life and brought happiness to others, because we can't control everything. You can't control the other person, but you can control yourself, and you can prepare yourself for that. Whole Hang said, Tony Robbins has an amazing guided meditation on YouTube, 10 minutes morning routine. I do it every morning. That's great. I love Tony Robbins. Also, if you have Netflix, he did a documentary called I'm Not Your Guru. And there is an alienated girl who shows up in about minute 10 of the documentary, and he gets it right away because she says, I have an eating disorder. And he looks at her and goes, where's your dad? And she goes, well, I have an eating disorder. But yeah, you're right. I don't talk to my dad anymore. And he goes, you have to talk to your dad today. You're going to get on the phone and talk to your dad. But, no, you got to get there. You got to talk to your dad. And she ended up talking to her dad. And she was like, oh, because she didn't really have an eating disorder. Haley Gullis, I have great friends who are also dealing with foster care or just unstable family relations. We help each other because we understand each other as well. Wow, that's foster care can be rough. And it's wonderful that you found a support group. Adam Dingle says, it is in these losses that I've gained the strength to love and persevere. Wendy Pierce, I've been alienated from my oldest for 5 years, and their dad is starting with their second. Each day is a challenge. I accept my emotions for what they are every single day. I never stop being available to both my kids all the time. I keep my kids' pics everywhere and believe that there will be a time they'll get to add to my collection. That's wonderful. Christy Beck said, there's also grief yoga with Paul Deniston. Yes. Yoga is, oh, thanks for reminding me, Christy. Yoga is great because it's physical, but it's also calming. So you get the best of meditation and calming the mind, and you also get to stretch your muscles, which releases tension, releases negative emotion. And you can take a class. There's places that are expensive. There's also places that are cheap or even free. The city I'm in has free yoga in the park every Sunday. That's just donation based. You can also watch videos on YouTube and do it in your home, and you don't need any special equipment. Now, John Lindbergh, funny, my daughter suffers from anorexia. So we see patterns all the time. And eating disorders is often, I've heard, is often related to parental conflict, though I'm not a therapist. Tell my daughter I love her community. Concern yourself on the future because you can't change the now. Yes, but I would say yes. We need to work and fight to change a future for all of our families, but also it's good just to be in the moment and enjoy the moment. And the two are not mutually exclusive. Anyone can tell you that if you find joy in your life, you're able to be so much more productive. So just since I started meditating 2 months ago, and trust me, I'm not an expert meditator. Most of the time my mind wanders and I think about the email or that person who's really annoying me. And I'm 2 months in, I'm doing it 20 minutes each day, but I'm just so much more productive and able to get more stuff done. So that 20 minutes doesn't take time out of my day. It gives me time and it gives me clarity. And also when somebody annoys me, I can just be like, this is really, really hard. But like somebody at work, messed up. They made a big mistake and it was a stupid mistake, but I was able to be like, okay, how do we fix it? And not like, oh, I can't believe how stupid you are. Just okay, how can we fix it? Next time I need to check their work more. Tate Rhodes, in your experience, does moving away from an area help? Moving away is kind of, I would say it would help if you're being harassed. It could help. If you have absolutely no contact, it's very hard, but moving away does not solve problems. I'm not sure if you ever heard of the Hawaii syndrome, Tate Rhodes, but it's So the Hawaii syndrome is that Hawaii has a very high suicide rate, or so I've heard, because people move to Hawaii thinking it will solve all their problems. They get to Hawaii and they realize that they are still depressed, and it didn't solve their problems. So I'd say it can help if you're being constantly harassed or just can't move forward, but it's not a cure. So are there any other questions that I can ask? I'm so happy that we've had so many reunited kids and kids who are in the process of reuniting join the chat. That's awesome. So just a few things. I don't see another question come up. If you want to, so what can you do now? Like I said, you need to work on self-care and being happy. I can't do that for you. Nobody can. And we're going to work on making the film. If you want more information, go to erasingfamily.org. If you like this webcast, you want to see more of this, you want to help the film get made, you can make a tax-deductible donation to our film fund. Just click on the donate button. It's super easy. Anybody who donates $50 or more gets a credit in the film. And another thing that you can do is go to erasingfamily.org and click on the button share your story, and you're going to have a page, and there's a survey there, and on the survey we set it up so you can tell your extensive story. There's tons of space to write, and also if your kid is over the age of 18, you can give us their contact number and we'll see if we can talk to them. We don't guarantee anything. We can't track people down, and we can't talk to kids for obvious legal reasons who are under the age of 18. And that's only up to you. But what you can also do is you can leave a video tribute for your kid. Not only can you do it, but your sister, your brother, your mother, your dad, the other siblings can do it. And you can leave 10 videos if you want, share it with everybody, and leave a video tribute to your kids. Also, look at the other videos of parents, and you'll see the ones who talk out of love from their heart and how powerful that is, and the ones who are really stuck in the pain and the fear, and think to yourself, if I was a kid, which parents would I be most attracted to, right? Because this is all about, and even if you're like fighting for change on a legal level, on a national level, on a local level, being calm and peaceful, people are going to listen to you so much more, because they're going to be like, I can't believe this is happening to this wonderful person like you. Let me see if anything else. I'm getting a bunch of thank yous. Christy Beck, moving helped me. Moving back to an area where I had more support from the family, and just summarizing helped. So moving can help, but don't think that it's going to be a cure-all. But Christy's right, especially if you're moving back to a place with happy memories and with a support system that can be good. Just don't say, if only I could move, everything would be better. Other things. Moving away stopped X constantly creating tension. Yes, that can be true. Haley Gomez, I find art helps. It's a good way to express feeling, even subconscious. Totally true. Art is a great one. Like, please do not take my list as extensive, because now with the power of the internet, the power of social media, you can Google and Facebook search and ask people what to do for self-care. There's tons of apps. There's tons of free programs out there. So I encourage you to explore. Try it out. And I think a great piece of advice is run an experiment on yourself. So when I started meditating, they did this crazy experiment. They're like, what if you just accepted people for one day and just sent them love, people who annoyed you? You just said, I'm sure they're just trying to be happy, because I'm trying to be happy, we're all trying to be happy. And at the end of the day, see how you feel. Then the next day, every time somebody does something bad to you, this could be not letting you see your kid or being cut off on traffic, saying, oh, I really hate you, you're awful. How do you feel at the end of the day? Run an experiment. Does yoga after a week make you feel better? Or does it have no effect? Does art make you feel better? You know? And letting out emotions might make you feel better. For some people, you know, having a good cry. But you have to find that joy at some life, because that's what we want. And we're not on this planet for a long time, so it's good to get every moment and get out of the mentality of like, no one has suffered as much as me. And this is very sad, but I have to say it. A lot of parents can't come to me and say, I need to tell you my story because my story is the worst you've ever heard. And I have to say, does it end in murder, suicide? Because those are the worst ones I've ever heard. Don't try to be the worst story I've ever heard. Don't try for that. It's not a competition of who's suffering the most. And the beauty of this, the beauty of self-care, is that no matter what, you're caring for yourself and you're bringing yourself joy no matter what the results are. So hopefully it will help you reconnect. And even if it doesn't, unfortunately, you're going to be happier and healthier and be able to find fulfillment in the other part of your life. So again, send a video tribute or racingplanning.org. Share this video. You can post it anywhere. You don't need to ask permission. You can download and post it. Whatever you want to do, just get the message out. Send it to somebody who needs a little pep talk. Wow, we've almost gone for an hour. I was planning to talk 15 minutes. And we're going to do this next week. So next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. So next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and every Tuesday moving forward, I will be doing a video. And the holidays, are coming up. And if it's going to be hard for you, start creating a plan now of what you're going to do. Is it spending time with friends if family's not an option? Is it volunteering? Is it getting away and doing something fun? But don't leave it to the last minute to be sitting all alone and feeling sad. Find something to do. Find a support group and go do your own research. Try, experiment, see how things make you feel. You know, if self-care helps you feel better, then great. So just keep on going. You guys are an inspiration, and I hope to see more and more united families. And together, we're going to ensure that all kids have the right to love both of their parents. Peace out.